Well, it's said that people started thinking that he'd made a pact with the devil because his mansion appeared literally overnight. I don't know how true that is, because if a mansion literally popped up overnight, I'm fairly certain, well, that people would suspect he'd made a deal with the devil. However, I just don't think it's possible. I think it's very likely he had so much money and could have so many people working on the property at any one time that the house went up very quickly. There's some seriously swampy flats over there. Personally, I think it's massively unfair to go and claim that a successful businessman who's seen a hole in the market, harnessed new technology, brought a lot of money to people, a lot of employment in the area, and did very well for himself in Ciénaga, be tarred with the brush of making a deal with the devil. It's possible he did, but let's be honest, pretty unlikely. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's go and see how this goes, because we got a long journey down this road, and don't want to have any mischief. It's definitely going to be one of these journeys. I think the idea is the moment you get in front of a big truck, you're okay. Getting in front of a big truck is a problem. Any seconds. Are we going to make it? Oh, thank goodness we did. There we go. Oh, just before the signs that say we can't overtake, and just before the big trucks come on the other side. Looks like we're home free now. Good. Thomas Zabaleta, historian and scholar from Ciénaga, thinks the same way I do. He's certain that Varela was just a hard-working man who was very good at business and saw a way to make a lot of money in a boom town. A local historian, Thomas Zabaleta, thinks that Varela was just a hard-working man who'd done very well for himself. And I can see that as being true, but I also know how people are. They get jealous. An awful lot of the time, when people died in completely normal circumstances, unfortunate but normal circumstances, the local population is so superstitious. Anytime somebody has an unfortunate accident, it's still put down to Manuel Varela even to this day. About 20 years ago, a soccer player, a student from a local school, was accidentally run over, and immediately the legend resurfaced. The ghost of Manuel Varela and his deal with the devil is taking our children again, when the reality is people die all the time. It's unfortunate, but it is a part of life. It seems that Manuel Varela actually did quite a lot of good stuff for the community. In his later years, he even sold off a big chunk of his lands and his properties and went and built a massive school in the area, one of the best funded anywhere in the region. But unfortunately, every year since it was opened, at least one student died. This is a historical fact, and of course, immediately the people put it down to the curse of the deal with the devil that Manuel Varela made. They believe that they are still paying off his debt to the devil years and years later. I think that's a little unfair. I'm not certain that any deals with devils or spiritual entities can be passed on to other people. Back in 1984, when Colombia had its horror decade, in 1984 in Ciénaga, 5 students drowned at a beach nearby the school, and of course immediately the story about Manuel Varela and his deal with the devil comes back. It doesn't matter how many years the man's been dead. When these rumours abound, they stay alive in communities and take on a life of their own. Whether or not there's any truth to the story, it didn't make any difference to Manuel Varela's business. You know, the gossiping tongues of locals, superstitious people who didn't know any better, are hardly going to go and stop the freight train of big business, and bananas are big business. And back in those times, there weren't nearly so many companies supplying fruit for the rest of the world, and anybody who'd got their hands on the business back in those days ended up doing really well for themselves. I imagine that in today's standards, Manuel Varela would easily be a billionaire. Now, what I was going to do is get dropped off in Ciénaga, have a little poke around the town, have a bit of an adventure trying to find the place, but unfortunately I'm on a super tight schedule on my Monday from hell. So, I'm going to get the cabbie to take me direct to the devil's house, take as much footage as we can, have a little poke around, see where Manuel Varela lived and allegedly made his pact. I actually thought from looking at the map that there was going to be a massive bridge over the entire over the entire 40 kilometers. I can now see that that would be absolutely ludicrous, and obviously about 40 kilometers bigger than any other bridge on the planet. But there's definitely a land bridge, a very thin one, probably about 1 kilometer wide. You can see we've got water on that side, water on that side. There's this lovely land bridge in the middle. Oh well, somebody was trying a bit of an overtake over there. Ah, Cooperativa, clearly in a hurry. Yeah. We'll have none of that here. Yep, you've got to be careful on the roads in Colombia. I haven't seen any accidents yet, bizarrely, but people are definitely taking chances that you wouldn't see elsewhere. That's one of the funny things about Colombia. There's no fallback health system. There's nothing like the NHS, nothing like the insurance system in America or anything that we have in Europe. You see an awful lot of people, if they have fallen off a motorbike, been hit by a car, the easiest thing to do, unfortunately, is to amputate a limb that normally would have been able to be saved. If you haven't got the money, or you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, see an awful lot of people who are resigned to crutches who could have been walking completely mobile with the right treatment. Hopefully things will change here like that in years to come, sooner rather than later. But when a country's developing, a health system is unfortunately a very expensive luxury. And I often think a lot of people in Europe don't know how good they've got it. And the people here tend to take care of themselves fairly well. They have to. If they don't, you're going to be stuffed. And the school that Manuel Varela set up, as soon as he'd set it up, every single year, a student would die. Now if you remember 100 years ago, this wasn't uncommon. There were many diseases going around. Unfortunate accidents, all a standard part of life, but when jealous tongues start wagging, and when you've already been tarred with a brush of being in league with the devil, it's unfortunate, but these rumours start to compound further and further. And before you know it, people are seeing witches at his house, sorcerers, magicians, ghosts, hearing strange screams. It could have just been the wind, it could be animals in the night. When everybody in the whole region thinks you're in league with the devil, everybody, there's nothing you can do about it. You've got to kind of take it or leave, I guess. Now, I don't know about you, but if a mansion literally popped up overnight, I'm not sure people would just be gossiping about him being in league with the devil. I'm pretty certain they'd have lynched him. So I think that's another case of Chinese whispers. Of course, we'll go and have a look around and see if it's got a funny atmosphere, or if we can hear any screams of tortured souls ourselves. One thing's for certain, people did die at the schools. There were dead people found on his farms, but people die. It's very hard to take the side of the superstitious people of Ciénaga. But with that said, is there any smoke without fire? Some people who knew him, there was a Thomas Zabaleta, historian from the area who actually had ties to Varela's family, said that he was an honest, hard-working, decent man. Of course, if you're friends with him, you're probably going to say that, aren't you? You're not going to call him a mass-murdering, devil-worshipping, evil maniac. With that said, I still can't believe that the mansion just popped up overnight. If the mansion popped up overnight, I don't think people would be gossiping about him. I think they'd be lynching him. Nonetheless, we're going to go and check out the fantastic erection of Manuel Varela. It may indeed have been set up by the devil himself. What I think is more interesting than anything about the Manuel Varela story is how rumours start to grow and take life of their own. You know, 114 years on now, and as somebody goes missing in the area, people still put it down to Manuel Varela. It's like, regardless of what people think, or regardless of what the truth is, what people think over the years and what they've built up again and again and again takes on a life of its own. And it's equally possible that maybe the rumours that take on a life of their own when they're very negative could potentially even make bad things happen. You literally create a curse, but not from Manuel Varela, from the other people in the area who incorrectly labelled him as a devil worshipper. It's interesting to think that over the years, many people who've thought bad of others and have generated a lot of bad energy and spread it around other people, bad things tend to happen to those people. So maybe it's not the devil's curse and not the curse of Manuel Varela, but actually a curse put on the people of Ciénaga because of their belief. You know, I used to love the Smokey and the Bandit movies, all the big trucks in America, and I've never seen so many big trucks as I have in Colombia. They're fantastic. Now, any witches or magicians out there who know a bit about occult law know that if you're making deals with non-physical entities, it's you who has to pay the price. A lot of people around Ciénaga claim that Manuel Varela was giving away other people's souls to the devil. That's actually something that can't be. If you're making a deal, it's you who has to provide the energy and you who has to provide the pain. The people who are ignorant of the way that things work, or allegedly work, if you go by all the occult literature out there, we'd be quite likely to go and believe something like that. And I personally believe that when the people of Ciénaga put really bad vibes towards Manuel Varela, what they were actually doing is generating negative energy between themselves, binding themselves with it, and over the years that probably came to manifest by an unnatural amount of people dying. I don't actually know if there were any more than the statistical average for people to die in the area over that time. But when a school that was funded by Manuel Varela is losing a student every year, you have to go and think that that's probably quite a lot. There we go, other side. We got here a lot faster than I thought. You never know, I might make it to Bogota early and actually get some food tonight. You can see how much water there was the other side of this land bridge now. So we're just passing through Tasajera at the moment, and this really feels, you know, we've got a little bit of a shantytown vibe. I don't know what the rainy season's like here, but it definitely looks pretty dry. You see a huge amount of washed up plastic and stuff like that. Before the Second World War, there were no plastics, and afterwards they've come to blight almost every part of the world. They have so many uses, it's so bad for the environment too. Wow, look at that scenery, absolutely spectacular. Soccer stars of the future getting their practice in there. Reminds me a bit of the entire villages that they build on stilts on the banks of the Tonle Sap in Cambodia. It really feels like it too. I think a lot of the time when you get rumours like this, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Personally, I do not think that Manuel Varela was in league with the devil. However, the fact is, so much negative energy was generated, regardless of whether it's true or not that Manuel Varela was in league with the devil. The reality is, a huge amount of negative energy has been projected onto the house that we're going to. Whether it was made by the devil or not, the fact is, it's certainly a powerful location for all the wrong reasons. Looks like a pretty chilled place, very simple place. Over the time, this will develop. I hope everybody's lives here gets better. It's strange seeing so many people living literally on a super thin strip of land in the middle of a busy road. We're getting closer and closer to the Casa del Diablo. I can't do stupid voices like that, it sounds ridiculous. So much plastic gets washed up here, it's really horrible. So we're getting close to the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta mountain range. I was gonna try and get to Ciudad Perdido, which is an ancient city in the mountains, but you've got to trek 2 days to get there, 2 days to get back, and I just couldn't do another 5 or 6 days. It's from an old civilization, nobody knows who they were, but it's almost like a mini version of Machu Picchu, surrounded by jungle, high in the mountains. So fingers crossed, we'll get back next year. Now obviously the only people who are ever truly going to know if Manuel Varela made a deal with the devil are the devil himself and Manuel Varela. And if he did make a deal with him, the chances are he's going to be paying that off for a very long time to come. One thing's for certain, 100 years in the future, even longer actually, 114 years into the future, we're still talking about Manuel Varela's deal with the devil. And so you can see that even if it's just rumour, conjecture, boredom, spitefulness, maliciousness on behalf of the people in the local area, what they've actually done is generate a huge amount of negative energy that's literally transcended over 100 years. It's pretty crazy what a bit of wagging tongues can do. It's happening, guys. We're about 2 minutes away. We've just gone and asked some guys for directions. This guy is showing us the way now. I'll make sure I give him a good tip, yeah. Colombians are incredibly cooperative, you know. Everybody is always ready to help. And this guy is literally getting on his bike for us. He looks like he does this a lot. He definitely don't look like he needs any more exercise. Me, on the other hand, I've got a gut to lose. This guy knows how to stop the traffic. Here we go. We have a space. We have a space. Oh, shit. We're fucked. I have no idea how about 20 people didn't just die then. I think we're nearly there. Muchas gracias. Sí, derecha. Ah, there he
Era
is.
por
Yeah,
acá
sí,
que
sí.
tocaba doblar.
Derecha.
No.
I'm loving this, but oh my word, what a day. In some places they've got their printouts of everything for the elections. Here they paint them on the walls. Just preparing my tip for the dude. He showed us all this way. He's getting a fat 10. Pretty decent money here. We're almost there. This is the high point of my absolute hell on earth Monday. We're finally going to get to see the house of Manuel Varela, the guy who allegedly made a deal with the devil.